Brevard Veterans Memorial Center is located at 400 South Sykes Creek Parkway in Merritt Island, Florida. The Veterans Memorial Center and Museum collects, preserves, and displays artifacts of the military history of the United States, with a special emphasis on Brevard County veterans. Their goal is to educate the community and inspire present and future generations with military service and sacrifice. Now, before we head inside to look at what the museum has to offer, let's take a look at what they have on display outside. So the area we're walking through is the Veterans Memorial Plaza. It was dedicated on November 11th, 2010. They have a bench here to commemorate the Merritt Islanders who were killed in action from Vietnam, other conflicts. And they have an interesting display of monuments, things to remind you of different conflicts. They even have a cannon from the ship that was used in the final naval battle of the American Revolution, which happened off of Cape Canaveral. Pretty cool. A memorial to wounded combat veterans, and they have some different aircraft on display as well. There's a Bell UH-1H Iroquois, as I believe how you pronounce that, a Huey helicopter, as I know it. There's also a Bell AH-1F Cobra, and this plane, which I always find these fascinating, an LTV A-7E Corsair II, and it is pretty cool. It's a very interesting looking plane. I love the big open mouth at the bottom of it. It's very cool to be able to see one of those up close. A Navy plane, so very small but powerful. They have a tank, an M41 Walker Bulldog American light tank, and I forget what the type of truck is over there. If you know, let me know down in the comments. I forgot to take a picture of what kind of truck it is, and there's also a Jeep inside, military setup Jeep on the inside. So let's go inside and take a look. So as you enter, there is a little gift shop off to the left, as you can see in the video, and the museum is free to peruse, so take advantage of that if you're looking for something free to do. It is set up so that you look at things from the American Revolution to begin with, and the Civil War, Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II. This is all on the bottom floor. It's a two-story building. This is the bottom floor. So as you go counterclockwise through the building, you get to follow each of the different wars, the different artifacts that they have, and many of these things are donated from people who live in Brevard County. Not necessarily all, but many of them are from residents of the county. So you can see some World War I era uniforms, which is always fascinating to see. They've done a wonderful job preserving things, but also making it easy to be able to look at and see. This was actually a picture made with the soldiers standing, which is really cool. Statue of Liberty made out of soldiers, or designed, photoed soldiers. There's different hats, which I always find fascinating to see. But I'm just walking through here, reasonably slowly. But there's just so many things to see. You could spend hours, especially if you're a history buff and you really want to see things from the different eras, from the different periods. You can take your time and look at them. I would say the largest section of the collection is World War I, II, Vietnam. That's the majority of things, but you get to see these. There's a Hermann Goering piece there. So there's some things from Germany. I think there's some things from Japan as well. You can see the different zones of occupation on this map that's been preserved. So there's different weapons, pieces of propaganda, and this diorama, which I don't recall what this is of, slipping my memory, but different German pieces. Then we're coming towards some Japanese pieces. We have some Japanese swords, which are beautifully crafted. I'm assuming extremely sharp as well, unless they've taken smoothed that out maybe a little bit. But some other Japanese items, some flags. There's guns, some pictures. The helmets, different style of helmets. Really, all the helmet styles were very similar for the most part. Just slight differences in how maybe they were curved, but interesting to see the differences in how worn some of those are. Some Korean pieces as well. Weapons, flag, different items through there. And of course they have the Jeep inside, which is really cool. One of the wagons that would have been carried, probably not a wagon, sorry, a trailer, a gun trailer to be able to pull around. And then we sweep back over here. Ooh, some pretty cool uniforms. I always like seeing the uniforms. I think that's pretty cool. If they're flat, that's interesting, but seeing them on a mannequin where you can kind of see the whole thing is interesting to see the different ways the uniforms are set up. This is more Korea, so you can see how cold it would have been, all wrapped up, and a little tent set up, so you can see what that would have been like. A little typewriter and different pieces of kit, a trunk with more uniform pieces there. And then we move back over to, I believe this is beginning I don't recall, it switches from Cold War to then Vietnam, so I believe some of this is Cold War. Wooden truck there is very, very neat. Of course, the SR-71. Beautiful plane. Would have loved to have seen one of those fly. Very interesting. Some of the rockets there. Different flag pieces, helmets, all things from that Cold War going into the Vietnam era. Of course, the weapons as well. Oh, there's even bows. I didn't notice the bows before. That's interesting. So all style of weapons, from guns to more older forms of weapons that can be used. I forget what those things were. If you can zoom in, pause the video, zoom in, you can see a little bit more about what some of those items are. Oh, reminder of the dogs as well that served in the military. Were very helpful in finding weapons and people and rescuing people. So they have a part in the wars as well. So this is a Viet Cong handmade knife. Some helmets from that era as well. Currency. I always love to see the currency. I find that fascinating as well. You can see the small packs, very small packs of crayons, but they're advertised as if they are cigarettes. I don't remember which way that was. Some meals ready to eat, the old style in the tins there. A mess kit, survival cards, helmets. Of course, there's always a glare trying to get the camera through these, so you should go in person to see this. It'd be much clearer to be able to see, but I just want to give you an idea of what things look like here. Alright, so we're headed upstairs. There's a lot more to see downstairs. There's the 9/11 memorial that they have, War on Terror, more from the Vietnam era. But I want to take you upstairs and show you around up here just a little bit. I don't want to show everything that the museum has to offer because I'm really hoping you'll take the time and go and visit for yourself. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it is free admission. They ask for a donation if you can, but it is a free museum to enter, and so you should take the time to go visit, see the different pieces that they have. Again, I find that the uniforms very interesting, and so going kind of back in time to look at these different uniforms, the dress uniforms, the Coast Guard, I believe that's Coast Guard uniform there. Very, very interesting to see what all those look like. And then they had this really interesting old radio. It reminded me of from the movie Where Eagles Dare. It reminded me of that radio that they were using to try to contact back and make decisions on what was happening. But it was cool to see one of those in person. We have a drum. There's different naval sections. We get a whole naval knots. If you're a Navy person, do you know how to do all of those knots? Or if you're Boy Scout, I suppose. I believe those are taught. Some of those are taught there as well. So let me know if you know what some of those are. All the different patches. And each of these little cubby holes is for a different section. Some are Coast Guard, one's like a Navy. I believe this might be to the Tuskegee Airmen. I did not do a good job of panning up high enough to capture what each section was of, but I think some of this is dedicated to the Tuskegee Airmen and Obi server. I don't recall now. I need to go back. I do want to go back again myself and just take a few more pictures. I was kind of focused on filming this time, so I was a little distracted, but I would like to go back and see it for myself once again. But all the patches, different Air Force pieces, is the flight boots, what those look like. It's very cool. Now, what was this next section? Oh, we're going to show all the pens. Oh, to the Marines, of course. That one was very quick. I knew what that one was right away. It's just all the red and yellow. It's like, ah, Marines. So different patches, insignia. What is this? I don't know. Dress uniform there. Oh, flight jacket. Very fancy flight jacket as well there. And more uniforms and hats to check out. Those helmets were definitely very interesting. I'm glad we have slightly better helmets to use now for our soldiers. Very, very appreciative of that. But just the different things. There's a dress sword, gloves, and all laid out there for you to be able to check out. So the last section we'll look at before we head back downstairs is the Army. Different hats and uniforms there. Some flags. I don't recall what that flag's purpose is specifically. Again, if you know, please let me know. Some different ranger patches or ranger patch and different military patches. Picture of Eisenhower, which downstairs in their library, they actually have a couch that belonged to Eisenhower that was used, I believe, in Germany when the Allies were there after the war had ended. So you can head downstairs to their library and check that out. It was very cool to see, and I talked to a nice gentleman there for probably an hour about different military books. There's an elevator to get to the second floor. There's also a third floor that I believe is just an observation area if you would like to do that. And as you walk along the hall down the stairs, stairwell I suppose is the correct word, there's different paintings, artwork, that's the word I want, artwork from the time period that you can see, and then you're back to the main floor to check out the different items that are here as well. All kinds of different American flag items, which is always a lot of fun. So I do highly recommend visiting the Brevard Veterans Memorial Museum if you have the opportunity. This would be a great place to visit while you're waiting for a launch. If you're a little bit early to head over to your cruise ship, this would be a good place. Or if you just need something to do on a rainy day here in Florida, or a windy day here in Florida, which is the case sometimes as well. If you're a history buff or a military buff, then you would find this to be very, very interesting. It's a museum that I know has been there for quite a while, but I just have never managed to visit until this year. Very glad I did, and I'm planning to visit once again. If you found this video interesting, I hope you will, one, go visit the museum and check them out, and also if you would share this video with someone you think would find this interesting, we would greatly appreciate that. Thank you guys, and we'll see ya next time.